Especially in Chicago.
Boy.
Welcome.
Good evening, good evening. Good to be here. Cold, but it's still good to be here.
Richardson and Romeo available?
Yeah, they won't play.
You're up.
I don't even know their names yet.
You remember what your initial reaction was to seeing Jate the first time you laid eyes on him at camp?
No.
What's your assessment going into the break of where they are group-wise, how far they've come since camp?
You mean the team as a group? I think they're learning steadily and consistently. Doing a good job. You know, they got through some injuries and COVID and understand a lot more now than they did at the beginning of the season. You know, they've gotten to play together a little bit now. A little bit of chemistry starting to form with them. So I think they've done a good job.
Hey, Bob Darnell Mayberry with the Athletic here in Chicago. Ayo Dosunmu was a guy who's come in and given them really good minutes as a second-round pick. Did he come in with you guys back in the pre-draft days, and if so, do you remember anything about him?
No.
What does it take for a second-round pick to be able to come in and enter a lineup for a winning team like that and contribute?
What does it take? It just takes you got to be good. I mean, there's no formula and stuff like this. It's all subjective. You know, Kawhi was the 15th pick. Tony Parker was the 28th pick, I believe. Manu Ginobili was 56. So every person who's made it, you know, Reggie was what was Reggie? 17, something like that. Miller, I'm talking about.
Okay, I didn't know what trade you were saying.
Damn, are you that young?
No, I know Reggie Miller. You could have been talking about Reggie Jackson.
Well, okay. But I'm just saying, you know, it's just a totally subjective deal. You win a few and you lose a few when you draft in that second round. So you find the gem. You find the guy that gets it both, not just physically, but between the ears. You know, how to play with your teammates. What wins and loses in basketball. It's not about just athletic ability or having a one skill sort of career. You know, you've got to be able to blend in with a group, and a lot of guys just they don't get it. They can play with themselves, but they can't play with other people, and that could be a second, third, fourth, fifth pick. There's a multitude of those guys that haven't made it. So when you say what does it take for a second round pick, well, it's just it's a between the ears thing more than it is a physical thing, I think.
Thank you.
Oh, not good coaching. I have a question, though. I want to ask you something about Zach LaVine. I'm not going to introduce myself.
Is this going to be a long prefacing statement before I answer?
It is. You want me to write it down?
I wouldn't be able to read it probably. That's what you're going to say.
I didn't want to say that, but
Write it in Serbo-Croatian or something.
now you were the Olympic coach, as I recall. This is going back a while, if you can remember.
Is this getting back to Zach? Is that
Yes,
what-
they're going back to Zach. You know, Zach was known as a scorer.
Which one of these is yours?
We did that already.
I did?
You did that.
It's probably a long
I'm not
time
going to
ago.
tell you which one.
Been here too long.
So Zach had a reputation as a scorer, a lot of
Right.
points. Criticism would be empty statistics kind of thing. But then he comes
Yeah.
to the Olympic team, and you have him playing defense and facilitating primarily.
Right.
Why did you think he could do that? And he did it well. Why did you think he could do that at the team?
That's a good question. You know, from day to day back then, we didn't really know who was going to be on the team for quite a while. And we knew because the season went so long and the Olympics started quicker than ever, there weren't going to be very many practices. So we decided we're just going to have to roll the dice and give people roles ahead of time. We didn't have time to get through X number of practices and coax people and all that kind of thing. So based on who was there and understanding what he was used to doing, We looked at our guys, and we needed somebody who could defend. We needed somebody who could basically defend full court, get into somebody, cause disruptions, take them out of an offense, and also at the offensive end to really run the floor and create a pace that the foreign teams wouldn't be able to handle. And quote unquote, Pop, just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. He said that to me 5 times during the deal. And so I said, that's what we want. So every time we did have a practice, he went out and he started the game by getting into somebody and playing D. And as we, or I don't know if we all do it, but I think the defense really generates some players' offense. Instead of going out on the court and saying, I got to get this shot or I got to do this, you get into the game by playing D and get your juices flowing up and down. All of a sudden you get into the fast break, you do this, you do that. And your offense just flows because that's natural, because all these kids have played offense their whole lives. They play defense when the coach convinces them to play defense. That's just a natural thing about the sport. So for him to just totally mentally flip it and do exactly what we asked him to do, I thought was pretty impressive, and we really appreciated it. And like you said, he did it very, very well. He was like an X factor, because he did do the defensive thing, and then all of a sudden you get a rebound, you throw it ahead, he's running the floor, and nobody can catch him, and he's dunking at the other end. So he was special in that regard. Devin Booker was similar. Devin did the same thing for us.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seemed like he as much as anyone, took on a role, unusual, uncharacteristic for the way he
Yes,
had been playing.
that's true.
I have another question. Now, this Spurs team now is a little different than you coached in previous years, in most of your career.
This is a rebuilding time. You can say that. We're not going to win the championship this year.
That's not a scoop, is it?
If somebody's a real idiot, it's a scoop.
Because I could leave and get right on that. Send that in a tweet.
Exactly.
Send it to ESPN. But when you started out coaching, you had pretty good players, obviously.
Yeah.
Coaching made them all-stars. But
I don't know about that.
But how is it different? Is it any different to coach when you start out with Robinson, Duncan, et al. Versus now?
How is it different?
Is it different? Does a coach coach any differently? Because those are sophisticated players.
Yeah.
Duncan, 4 years in college. Robinson, who knows how many between the military and everything.
Yeah. It's the same in the sense that the principles and the standards are the same. If Timmy didn't rebound, I was on him. If we threw it to him in the post and guys were open and he didn't kick it and he played in a crowd, I was on him. As a coach, you have to make that decision, that the principles and the standards are the same for everybody. How you treat people is different. Everybody has a different level of acceptance for criticism, for instance, and you got to be able to know how to get to people that have a little bit thinner skin maybe. But as far as what the basketball gods demand, if you don't have a good transition defense, you're not going anywhere. And if you can't play half-court defense, you're not going anywhere if you don't rebound. If you're getting 22 assists a game, you're not going to win. If you're turning it over 20 times a game, you're not going to. All those sorts of things are still important no matter what the level of talent or level of maturity. So in that sense, it's all the same. What's different here is there's a lot more emphasis on fundamentals, because like you said, a lot of these guys haven't been to school for 4 years. So coach didn't really get a chance to repeat things with them over the years and get them habitual in certain ways. So this is more repetition, more fundamentals, more basics than with previous teams.
I have one more. Because Bulls have been through this.
If you ask every question, would that be rude to other people who might want to ask a question, or you don't really care?
I mostly get tuned out early on in these things, so they're not paying much attention to me at least.
See why I love coming here. It's fun.
I think it's for the restaurants, isn't it?
Again tonight.
Yeah.
Win or lose, you got to go to dinner.
And the wine.
Of course.
The Bulls have been through something similar maybe what you're going through, and there's sort of a dichotomy. The community usually wants you to lose these games because their fans, we talk about draft picks, and obviously players are not prepared to lose. How do you deal with that, you know, where the community says, well, we need to lose this game to get a better draft pick, and,
Right.
you know, going on.
But you have, you know, the one thing you threw in there, but you have a good team here now.
No, I'm not, I'm saying.
Why would they want
Bulls
them to
had been-
lose?
No, Bulls had been through this
Oh,
previously.
you mean before this year, for
Before
a certain
the
number of
past
years
couple of
after
years, yeah.
Michael and blah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I get it. Well, you have to understand that about fans, you know, that's totally logical, that they might think that way. But if you put yourself in the situation, more as a coach than any other position in the organization, besides players, you can't go to your team and ask them to lose. You can't do that. It's an impossibility for all the logical reasons you can think of on your own. So you go play your best, you keep teaching, you keep doing what you do. And if you lose and you end up with a high draft pick, well, you accept it and you're glad you got a high draft pick. But it can't be because you didn't push them or teach them or demand from them. You just got to go do it. And I'm not, you know, I don't know if everybody subscribes to that philosophy, but that's mine.
I'm officially tired of myself now.
And I'm sure everyone else was hoping there was another question.
I'm sure they will. Maybe next time.